Head coaching for college football are flying off the shelves. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SlasherU. I'm your host, Christian Rhule, here with my co-host, Steve Feck, and we're going to break down one of the new head coaching hires here in college football. It's in the Big Ten. Nebraska finds their new guy. It's Matt Rhule, a guy who was with the Carolina Panthers. We saw him with Baylor. We saw him with Temple. Now he's back in college football. He's going to go to the Cornhuskers. I think this is a good spot for Matt Rhule. I think he has the opportunity to do some big things here. I'm surprised he took a job so early after the really hefty buyout he had with Carolina. I'm not going to lie, but this deal is pretty impressive, Steve. 8 years, $74 million, 90% guaranteed, some deferred compensation with a salary pool of $7 million. What's your thoughts on this pick by Matt Rhule heading to Nebraska?
Yeah, at first, I was kind of like, I don't know about that. A lot of it was because I thought maybe there might have been some burnout with the way things had turned out for Carolina. But from the Nebraska end of it, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, they understand that they're swimming in deeper waters now, and there's a lot more predators in those waters than maybe had been there, prior. I mean, Nebraska can't keep playing like it's the 1970s and 80s anymore. They got to start coming into the 21st century and adapting to what the landscape is. Mm-hmm. He's a program builder. I mean, just what he did at Temple right there tells you this guy knows how to pretty much build from nothing and turn around a program. Now, this is a much bigger challenge. I mean, the Temple wasn't playing in the Big Ten, but still, I think from a recruiting standpoint, he's got the swagger. Hey, I was an NFL coach. I know what it takes to make it in the NFL. At Baylor, he had a lot of players go to the NFL when he was there at Baylor. I still have some lingering bad taste about his stay at Baylor, but I don't know.
Sorry.
That's right.
I held on as long as I could.
That's okay.
Sorry.
I'll pick that up again. Okay.
Yeah.
I still have some lingering bad tastes over his tenure at Baylor. And I don't know that it's necessarily him. There's just something about the Baylor program that just always seemed to fall a little bit shorter of what expectations may have been. And maybe those expectations were too high at times. Mm-hmm. But as the days have gone on, and you and I have talked, off camera here about it, I've come to warm up to this hire, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens transfer portal wise now for Nebraska. Not just players leaving, but now players coming in. And are some of those players that said I want to go in the transfer portal, are they really going to follow through with that?
Yeah, this is a guy who knows the Texas system, so he can bring the recruiting down from Texas. We saw him in the Northeast as well, the Carolina area from when he was the head coaching. So he has connections in a lot of the main ports of college football recruiting, if you will. This is a conference that is 2 years away from no longer having divisions. So when you talk about a culture builder, a program builder, he has to build this as not a Big Ten West team. He has to build this as a Big Ten team, a team that can compete with Iowa and Wisconsin and Purdue, a team that needs to compete with Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. Like, those have to be the cases, and that it has to be the expectation, and that's probably why he's getting paid a pretty decent chunk to do this. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with recruiting with Nebraska. I think this is a way for them to make that next step forward, a thing that we couldn't see in the Frost era. It didn't happen. We thought that it could have happened with the Florida connections that Frost had. Well, it wasn't really the case in this one. So I want to see if that is the case moving forward. And NIL deals, that is going to be something that is absolutely huge. The fact that he has had head coaching experience in the NFL, you got to make you think that he has some sort of connections that can help in that sort of aspect. And I'm sure that there was something along the lines getting him into that job pretty quickly, might I add. After his firing in Carolina, he quickly added to that Nebraska squad. There had to have been some pretty big negotiations on the table, so I'm sure that came into play as well. I'm interested to see what his coaching staff looks like as well. I think there's going to be a lot of really interesting things we still are not done talking about with this Rhule addition. However, when you look at this Big Ten as a whole and then add USC and UCLA, because they're on their way too, this is a monster conference. And you almost have Murderer's Row as the coaches as well in these conferences. I mean, you're talking Lincoln Riley now, you're talking Ryan Day, you're talking Jim Harbaugh, Luke Fickell in the run now, Matt Rhule, Mel Tucker is still there. You have a lot of really big name coaches in this loaded conference that in 2 years they're going to be battling for the top 2 spots heading to the conference championship, Steve.
Yeah, and the question I was wondering, and hopefully people can chime in the comments after they watch this video, does he get a hall pass for next year? Does he get 1 year to really establish his program, his system, or do you think that it's win now? Was that the discussion during the negotiations? Did Rhule say, "Hey, look, give me a year, and we'll be on the right track," or is it you've got to win now?
I think it's got to be you got to be at least bowl eligible. I think you can't be a 4-8 team like you are this year. I think that has to be at least on the case. Like right now, we see Wisconsin at 6-6, and we know that's a rough year for Wisconsin. We know why Paul Chryst was fired, and they brought in a different guy to really take the charge. Right? We know that's the case. I think you have to have a season at minimum 6-6 to show. Now, I think if you finish 4-8 or 5-7, he's not out the door. But I think there's a lot of big question marks there. Now, I just don't think you can take a step backwards. I think that even though you are starting from scratch, and I think that's why this is so big that he got hired right now, because the recruiting window starts December 5th, I believe it is, or December 3rd or December 5th, and it's for 30 days. And then you got another 15 days in May. So he's going to be there. He's here for enough time, a week or so, to figure out his plans and where he's going to send people and go on the recruiting trail, and then he's off. So he's going to be there for the whole 30 days. So with that being said, since he's already hired and he's going to be here for the whole 30 days of the transfer portal window, you have to kind of say that, yeah, this is going to be his responsibility. And they do expect some wins here because you're here long enough to do a full recruitment and to do a full transfer window period. So I think that's why Nebraska went out so early. I think that's why we're seeing a lot of coaches get hired this week before this window opens up for 30 days. And that expectation will most definitely probably be on the line, Steve.
Interesting. I mean, again, I didn't think that he could have a losing record, but I was wondering, like you said, is 6-6, is bowl eligibility enough this year? Or is Nebraska coming in saying, look what Brian Kelly did at LSU, and we want the same kind of result?
Well, Nebraska hasn't had a 6-win season since 2015, where they went 6-7. And then before then, they had winning records all the way back to 2007. So since that period of 2008 to 2015, when they were bowl eligible, we haven't seen that happen in almost 8 years now. So I think getting back to bowl eligibility in that Big Ten, even before they get USC, UCLA, or before you get the divisions gone and into a full conference play, I think that's pretty crucial. I think that's big. And I wouldn't take that out of consideration of being the standard for Nebraska moving forward. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Matt Rhule? Do you think that's a great hire for this program? Do you think Nebraska can make that next step ahead? Do you see them ever becoming a powerhouse in the Big Ten? Let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to hit like and subscribe while you're there. And thank you, as always, for watching SlasherU.